You're in.
Another podcast.
Yes.
What is this, episode 3?
Episode 3.
Before we get started, bro, let's talk about your birthday.
Dude, I'm almost 30.
You're
Mitch, are you 30 yet?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Is your
it's
birthday
another.
this month? It's coming up soon.
It just passed, but it's okay.
When was it?
2 days ago? 3 days ago?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Another year
Do you
down.
think fun?
Sat and relaxed.
Nice.
It was good.
Sounds
Watch
fun.
football. Yeah,
That's
it
how
was
you know you're
good.
getting old.
It was good.
Nice. Man.
Okay. Let's see. I'm just going to mute this down. All right,
Hitting
cool.
podcast, right? Going over hitting.
Yeah, so today's going to be going over hitting. So I have everything preset for you guys, and we'll kind of just jump into it.
Heck yeah,
Before we get into our hitting topics, Matt, what do you think your specialty is in regards to baseball? Like, what do you think you do well?
what do I do well? I would say defense, probably. Defense,
Okay.
Team defense, lifting. Probably my
Okay.
top three things I can bring to the team. Hitting,
So
probably.
podcast interview, Shane.
I'm honestly asking. I think each of us bring a different, unique
Yeah.
aspect, and we have things that we do better than others. Like
I would say the way I grew up from baseball, I learned those things the most, and I focus on those things the most. I guess is having a dad as a coach. Again, you just get different things, and my dad's expertise wasn't hitting, and so we didn't spend that much time hitting as we did on the field. As I got later into my playing days, hitting became more of a priority, and then now he is doing basically all hitting lessons. But I would say hitting is probably the least of my expertise, but
okay,
it all depends.
Mitch.
Probably the speed stuff and like the movement stuff I do online, just like with the people that have like hip pain or knee pain or whatever. And then everything else is hitting lessons. So just those three.
That's what I was going to say for you. That's everything
I
I've ever.
don't like messing with the pitching stuff and throw emotions. I don't know enough about all that.
Mm-hmm. The
Pass
biomechanics.
kids off some. Yeah, I don't know it.
I gotcha. Yeah, I think definitely for me, my thing has always been hitting. I think that's where I feel like I have the most understanding, and I feel like I have a better eye for myself when it comes to seeing hitters. But again, that was just my question for guys that are trying to figure out.
Would you say that pitching right now is probably one of the most underdeveloped things, or people know the least amount about pitching than they do everything else? You know, you have some guys that are like pitching gurus, or biomechanical guys for pitching. That usually they fall into that realm where they either do pitching only, or they do the other stuff. Right? I really don't see someone that knows everything and pitching. To be honest, most of the time, like you go to a pitching coach, you don't really go to like a coach for like hitting and lifting and pitching. Right? I feel like there's people that specialize in specifically pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And at least with my team, we have a pitching coach, and our pitching coach doesn't do a ton with hitting. It's mainly just pitchers. Kind of interesting. I don't know.
I used to get good feedback though from some of the pitching coaches. Like we'd have hitting coaches that you're definitely not going to ask advice to or ask for advice from, and then you have like a pitching coach. You're like, hey, like how would you get me out right now, and give you a pretty good answer, and you're like, oh, cool, thank you.
Yeah, because they have a better eye for things than, and honestly, a lot of hitting coaches, because that's how they're trying to get us out, is by understanding our swings. So I agree with that.
Catchers too. Point. Corky was catchers a good one to ask.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you ever had a catcher that's throwing BP to you, they throw the best BP for whatever reason. Catchers throw the best BP.
That is true.
Every time.
Unless you want cutters, then change your guy.
Hey, cutters that end up down the middle, though.
No, the worst BP. Those things suck.
No. Have some respect.
He's pitching to get you out. Like we were talking about, he pitches. When you said BP, that dude be getting you out, exposing your swing. No doubt.
Okay.
I don't know why. Why do you do that?
Why do I throw fastballs right down the middle?
Nope,
I don't know. I guess it's natural. Natural.
You need a pitching guru, biomechanic guru.
Natural movement.
Okay. All right. Let's jump into it. So let's go off of are all baseball swings the same? Matthew?
You go ahead, Matt.
I'll start. No, they're not. All baseball swings are not the same. I think they all have similar things they're trying to get to. They have similar points of the swing that every guy is trying to get to. You know, get your foot down a certain time or be on time, stay through the ball. But I would say, like, if you look at a Mike Trout swing versus like a Ronald Acuna swing, like they're probably thinking different things. I would say that they have very similar movements in their swings or very similar goals that they're trying to get to in their swing. But you know, I would almost guarantee that they're thinking different things and they're trying to focus on different things, like kind of what clicks for them. So I would say no, that all swings are not the same. Similar aspects, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm saying.
But okay, so let me ask you then. So you're saying they have different thought process, right? But does that mean that their swing's different? Because that has nothing to do with what's actually coming out. That's just their thought process. That has nothing to do with what their actual swing is.
Yes and no, because to me, it almost goes into like life, like a life thing. Like you may have been taught something one way, and the way they told you that one thing is something that is very similar, but it's not the same. Like if I told you like stay through it, for Mitch, stay through it means one thing, for you it means another thing, for somebody else it means another thing. Like it's all like how you perceive your thoughts or like what you're being taught to put into the swing. If that makes sense. Like I try so hard to, you know, you may say, I think something you had told me before, Shane, was that for like a swing, you're like, oh, I had somebody come in, they kept popping up. So it's like, I want you to hit a ground ball on your next swing as hard as you can. But saying that to me or saying that to somebody else, it might not work. It all just kind of depends on like what you're thinking to help get you to the swing that you want to be at. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interpretations. I think that's the big.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the huge thing. It's a kid-to-kid basis. Mitch, what do you
Like,
think?
do we want to teach? We want to teach about power. We want to teach about keeping our hands back, you know, in a good position, starting position, but staying through the ball, not pulling off, keeping our hips on it, stuff like that. Everybody needs to have similar things, but different things are going to work for different people.
I agree. When Matt said that, like, they're not all the same, I agree because approaches are all different and approach can enable mechanics. So if like Matt said, if we tell you, Shane, hey, try to hit a ground ball at the pitcher's foot, like it's going to change something in your mechanics that it wouldn't change for me and Matt, or maybe it would, but like, it's not going to be
we would think it's something
absolute
completely different.
Yeah, because we all have different movements. So if you tell us all to do the same thing, like three different things are probably going to happen, and one of them might work for us. But when you look at like the best of the best, I think if you just look at them, just taking a normal swing from like a side view, if we're looking at the skeleton, I think there's a lot of things in common. Like if it's just the skeleton and the bat, there's like so many common moves with the really good hitters, but it's super hard to achieve that and perfect it, obviously, or everybody would do it. So everyone's just trying to make like approach adjustments and little tweaks to try to reach that, but it's very difficult to do.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's good. I think you guys hit it spot on. I don't really think I have to go much more into that. I agree with you. There's no way we could all replicate and have the same swing.
To go deeper in is like as a coach or like as somebody with lessons, and you have a kid that comes in and they don't have the best swing, but they get into that cage and they rifle 5 balls in a row, hitting lasers, right? Do you try to tell them, like, you know, you maybe see some flaws in the swing, but they rake, right? I'm sure you can. I like to use Acuna because he's like has such a big swing and so many movements. Like if you have a guy like Acuna, do you try to, you know, shorten his swing? Do you try to, you know, not have so many movements in his swing, or do you just let him go because they're hitting well?
I think you have to let their game results decide yes or no for that, because if a kid comes to the cage and he's rifling balls in front toss, like he's obviously on time. If he has a bad swing and he's rifling balls, he's just on time. Now, if he goes to the game and he struggles, then you need to let him know, like, hey, you're on time and it's working, but we need to fix these different things in your swing. Now, if he goes to the game and he's just ripping the cover off the ball, like, who is anybody to change that kid? Like, at least let him fail a little bit before you tweak stuff. Like, if he's having success, he's on time. Even if you think his swing is bad, just like let him have fun for now. If he's 10 or 12 and if he wants to work on his swing when he's in high school and more serious, then it's a way better time to do that later on.
Yeah, and you got to think too, for any guy, like Mike Trout wasn't necessarily always Mike Trout. Like at some point he had to learn, and he was struggling with something. And for these kids, like you're saying, Matt, when they come in the cages, maybe they hit 5 balls in a row good. they're coming to us as a hitting instructor for a reason. They've probably
Sure.
been struggling, or there's something that's not right. And again, it's most likely it's in-game situations, because there is such a difference of tee or front toss versus someone actually using a moving baseball.
I think it's something too, like I try to really focus as being a third base coach or being a head coach. Like when I have my kids, once we get to the game, all I'm trying to teach them is to, be on time and hunt fastballs. If you get a fastball here in the zone, we're ready to hit it. If they throw a breaking ball, we're not taking it. If they hang a breaking ball or they throw a fastball early in the count, we need to make sure we're on time and ready to go. I don't really go over mechanics at all once we get to the game. Maybe some adjustments as far as what this pitcher's throwing and look at the counts of what he's throwing. But I feel like once you get to the game, it's too late to make adjustments. And just to like almost like breed confidence in them and just like have them, I don't say like fight in the box, or just be like more aggressive and fight in the box to make sure like that they're on time and putting the ball in play, as opposed to like getting to the game and maybe they had a good first at bat and then game two trying to make an adjustment, to just focus on giving them the confidence as opposed to making in-game adjustments. But that's kind of a whole other story. But to be positive, I feel like means a lot more to hitters. And just like if you think you're going to go up there and get a hit, you got a much better chance of going up there and get a hit than going up there thinking the other way.
Okay, I like it.
For sure.
So going off of that, then you get into Matt. This one I like for you, because I think this is like, if I was to ask your dad this question, I think he would have a completely different response than you would have for this. Do hitters need to think swinging up or swinging down? And does it matter? Is it a case-to-case basis, and why? And we already kind of touched on that, maybe a little.
I don't believe swing up, so you're asking the wrong guy. I never believe in swinging up. So I was never taught that way. I'm trying to teach hitters right now. A lot of my hitters, they want to get their backside down, and once they tilt, they're in bad shape. So their shoulder goes, their head tilts, and then all they can do is just pull off, as opposed to keeping their back shoulder higher than their front shoulder, so they can stay on top of it and get the pop in their barrel. A lot of my guys right now are coming straight here, straight out, or dipping and pulling around. So I'm trying to fix this back shoulder to keep it up. It's hard. It's kind of hard to look in the camera when it's like backwards. But like keeping the back shoulder, keeping it above the front shoulder.
Can you do that again really fast? Can you drop your back shoulder and then turn your wrist that you just did?
It's so hard to
No, just do it. Do it with your hands connected. So where your bat's at right now, would that bat be flat or would that be underneath it?
What do you mean flat?
Right there.
What would be flat?
So you dropped your back shoulder, but is that bat flat with what you're demonstrating?
Like you're talking about on plane?
Mm-hmm.
It could be.
Mitch?
I mean, I think it's the barrel starts somewhere here, and then contact is below where the barrel starts. So we swing down to the ball. And then when we finish our swing, our hands end up higher than the contact point. So then we, at some point, swung up. So I think like when people talk about swinging down versus swinging up, it's more of the feel of like they're trying to swing down. They're trying to keep that, like Matt said, the top shoulder from dipping, or some like Shane, when you made your swing change and it was really a successful thing, I thought. You were trying to swing up and meet the ball in like an upward plane, and it worked for you. But like, and then Matt's feel that he's talking about with the back shoulder staying tall. Talk about Barry Bonds, one of the flattest swings ever. Like we do see his shoulder drop fairly early, but he's still swinging down and very level to the ball. So there can be way too much of that, but there can also be too much of this. But the feel that you talk about might really work for some hitters, and then what Shane worked on at the end of his career might really work for some guys too. So I think it's just a case-to-case basis. Like the first question, it's like the approach will enable some mechanics. So some guys have to think different things.
My main philosophy for the back shoulder not collapsing, like when it collapses, is my guys, when they're coming here, all they're trying to do is rip. They're not trying to go middle. They're not trying to go oppo, so they end up pulling off and spinning off the balls.
Like they're trying to drop it.
They're trying to get lift. So because they come this way, they're trying to get lift, and the only way they're going is pull side. Their hips open up way too early. Their head is tilted. They're falling over the plate before their swing. Like maybe you could get away with having the back shoulder. Like I know Shane did. I saw like that. He made a huge change in his swing. But I really think like if I can keep them from going this way and this way over the plate, just by staying upright, more so than back shoulder claps. If they can stay upright, they got a better chance to hit everything.
Mhm.
So
I agree. And like, that's why I do so much top hand work with kids of all ages. And like where it's half swings where they're just trying to catch the ball or they're making a full swing with that top hand.
do you
And then they
use a
can
small
figure
bat,
out,
like a mini
yeah,
bat?
yeah, not super small, or I'll have them use like a wood bat, but they'll choke up a bunch on it just to have some counterbalance. But it's just a really good thing for them to feel like, oh man, my shoulder did drop way too much or way too early, and I'm not able to even hit the ball off the tee now. So that's a really good, blueprint for them.
I think too. I think you guys are both spot on with that. I think the hardest part for these kids though is when they come in and again you see like Matt, you see like your high school kids. They don't have like in their head they see guys trying to that are hitting home runs. They're successfully hitting home runs on TV and like those main guys, like you're saying too, Mitch. They're so strong and they can do it, but they don't understand their swing enough to be able to do that correctly. And there's a
Correct.
difference of being able to meet the ball by swinging up versus having to think down. And I think that's what so many of these kids struggle with is they just think in their head there's one way. I'm just going to swing and hit as hard as I can, and that's just what gets so many of these kids in the hole. And I see it, dude. I see these little kids come in and they're hitting the ball 5 feet from where it's at, straight up in the air, and they're loving it. And it's like, oh my God, this is so bad. This is so bad.
Or just knocking your tee over.
Or breaking
Whenever
it.
that
Yeah, dude. I
happens.
go through so many tees, and it's
Yeah.
it's the young kids. It's the newer generation of them and what they're being taught, which is it's okay. It's a different thought
Yeah,
process.
The
it is what
funniest
it
thing
is.
ever that I see a lot when we're, especially, I hate doing BP on the field. As a player, everybody loves hitting BP on the field, but I feel like these kids, they get, you know, the thing I see the most with my players again, they hit 3 balls solid in a row, smoke them, and then they get a middle in fastball on BP, and what do? They try to smoke it and repeat as opposed to trusting in their swing, right? They're trying so hard because they just felt, they hit a ball in the gap, and the guy's like, "Oh my gosh, good swing," or whatever the heck they're yelling, and they try so hard to do it again, and now this next ball is a ground ball to third. Now they just pull the ball foul. It's like, dude, why did you try so much hard? You just hit the ball well. Why would you try so much harder on the next swing? And that's what you're talking about, Shane. Is like they don't have the confidence to know, like, dude, my swing is my swing. I'm not going to get in there and take a swing. Okay, this next time I'm going to try even harder. I swung in this. Let me try even harder. Oh, I fouled one off the cage. Like, no, like your mind, no matter what you do, at least for that 5 or 6 swings, try to repeat, try to repeat, try to repeat. Easier said than done, of course. But
Yeah.
if you smoke a ball, why do you try so hard on the next pitch? If you would just wait a little bit longer and trust, you get that middle end pitch, keep the same swing. You see so many guys just trying to change everything. Like, just have some trust, right? Have some self belief.
And if you want to talk about a really good BP approach, I watched Shane do it for years. And I don't know if he was doing it in high school too, but he never would pull the ball in BP. It was just nothing but just hitting line drives to shortstop and left field for years, and he always was, bat to ball really good in game. So just never want to like pull off the ball in BP. I never saw that from Shane year after year.
I think I went through my periods. I think I remember, Matt. I think honestly we had talked about it too. Like I remember, was it Goldschmidt that BP or Mitch? Maybe it was with you. I don't remember, but I watched him take batting practice, and obviously he has so many home runs. He would hit ground ball after ground ball like the other way, and that changed a lot for me. That was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Freddie Freeman too. He's known for doing that.
But the thing is like we're talking like BP is just a show. When you swallow your pride, like Goldschmidt did, or what you did in BP, where you stayed on the ball, like you didn't care what people thought. If you could find and feel your swing, and know like, okay, if this ball is outside here, I can shoot it to the left side. For you as a left-hand hitter to the left side, or if they throw that ball the middle in, like I'm just going to trust and I'm going to put my good swing on it and hit it where it's pitched.
So did you have a different approach, Matt, in BP versus the game? Like what was your BP approach versus your game approach, or was it the same thing?
It's funny because if I hit good in BP, I was probably not going to get a single hit in the game. Or my BP was bad, I probably wasn't going to get it. I was probably going to get some hits in the game. So towards the end of my college career, probably the last 2 years, I didn't really care about my BP. Like my job was to go in there, get loose, get timing, and I would spend, I didn't have to hit as much as everybody else. I didn't feel like I needed to. If I could feel my hands and get loose, that's all I really needed for BP. Shoot some the other way, hit a couple up the middle, get a couple of bunts in, think about an infield back type situation. If I could control my hands and knew my swing was going to be there, if I could feel my hands, if that made sense.
And that's the one thing kids don't do is what you're saying is they're not preparing themselves for a game in BP. Like that's what's lost. That's what you were doing. You're like, if my hands feel good, I'm ready for the game. And now it's like BP's its own game. It makes no sense to me.
My dad came out to Sacramento to watch one of the college games and came and saw BP before the game. And I had hit maybe 3 or 4 home runs in BP, and he still kind of brings it up to this day. But the fence in left field was 280 feet away. And he's like, yeah, you're hitting all those home runs. And my swing felt one of the worst ever. Because I was trying to hit the ball on a line. I knew if I got in front of it in the game, it could go out or whatnot. But when I couldn't feel my swing, talk about the worst time, right? How can you be prepared when you couldn't feel your hands? Or I don't know how you guys felt, but yeah, I didn't need to hit. All my work was done in the cage. If I had something wrong, I fixed it on my own in the cage off the tee.
For sure.
Have to, right?
Yeah,
I would think so. Mitch, what about you? What was your BP approach versus your game approach?
So that would, this answer. It would change 24 hours or a week or a month. It was always just trying to find what would possibly work. I just was for a while, high school, college, rookie ball, just something. I just wanted to swing that would play for contact, and then it just eventually wasn't enough against that good pitching. I was trying to find something that would give me some power and contact. So I went through spells where I would refuse to hit the ball to the pull side, tried to hit a lot of ground balls. There were some BPs I was just trying to hit home runs, just direction. Just I was trying something all the time, just trying to find a way to get a little better.
But I think for you, the big thing that always came to it, especially I think Larkin, and for you guys that don't know, Barry Larkin that played with the Reds, you and him were always working on simplifying. And that was the hardest thing for you to ever do in your career. And I think that's what to this day has made baseball hard for you, because you can't simplify. You are a guy that you need it all. And sometimes it's hard for you to give a little off.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
That rookie year, it was the same approach and swing and stance and all that stuff that I did in college and had success my sophomore year. But it just got to a point where it's like this is not enough to work against this pitching. So it was super simple. I was spread out, no stride, just throwing my hands at the ball, and it just didn't work for very long. So just he's had me do some crazy rhythm stuff one whole off season after that first year, right? To twirl the bat all crazy and stand super narrow, and he always had me trying something kind of unique. I remember he made me put the bat on my shoulder, and I had to stay there until the last second for a little while. He was always trying to get me to just feel some sort of rhythm, because in his opinion, he thought I was just missing rhythm, which was creating timing issues, which I feel like is a pretty good, way to think about the inconsistencies I had.
Do you think you switched to go contact because you wanted your speed to play? It was a mix of your speed to play, but also to avoid striking out, or both, or one of the.
Both for sure, because that's kind of what got me my opportunity with the Reds. Was I was fast, I could hit the ball on the ground the other way, and try to hit 280, 290 with a bunch of singles and play good defense. That's just kind of what I was. But you're
a switch hitter too, though.
Yeah, switch hitter. So it was kind of the same thing from both sides. College, my whole sophomore year, I would hit opposite field ground balls during BP the entire season, left and right handed, just not trying to do anything crazy, but. That approach, like we talked about earlier, that approach wasn't enabling the right mechanics for me with timing or swing or whatever it was. So it was just a constant chase to see if we can find something that works better.
I like it. Matt, what do you feel like for you? And again, even though we're on the hitting topic, for you now as a head coach, when you're seeing these guys out in the field and you see a kid struggling, when do you think it's time to actually either keep the swing that you're doing and you're not being successful, or actually make a change? What do you think that timeline is?
One day.
One day, one game.
One day. No, if I see I usually try to not say anything the first time I see a kid. Like I want to see all of it without me saying a word. Like I want to honestly, if they're getting frustrated with their swing, if we're like, okay, now we're gonna go, here's a middle round, be on time. Even if we're gonna be like, okay, home run derby round, whatever the heck it is, I just want to sit back and watch and see, okay, do they have any understanding for what each round means, for their swing means? Are they getting frustrated with their swing? Do they not care? Are they getting their timing on deck out of the BP cage? Even if they're the third guy up, are they getting timing, or were they just sitting over there, chewing sunflower seeds? I really just like to stand back and observe, and then after that day, once I kind of see it, then I try to get in right away. At least focus on like one thing I can improve or have them work on. I'm really trying this year to do something different. Is I'm going to spend a lot more time working with my guys for approaches. I think a lot of them, especially when we're not going to be seeing 90 miles an hour or 88 or 85, if I can just teach them to have the right approach and to be on time, the swing is kind of what it is at this point. But I really am trying to get some direct intervention. But I would say like one day. Like I don't like to ever have a practice or a BP or a cage round for any of them without them working on something, like thinking about something. Otherwise, we're kind of just wasting our time. I don't know if that's answering your question or if I went on a tangent, but
No, that's good. So let me ask you then. Let's just say for the average Joe watching this, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a kid. They're new into baseball. They haven't been to it that long. I want to hear from both of you guys. What is an approach? Like, what does that mean? Because that's a big thing that we keep talking about. But what if they don't even understand what we're saying?
well, that's kind of a loaded question. An approach is what you're trying to do when you get into the batter's box. What are you trying to do every time you step up to the plate? And I think that's going to vary for numerous reasons. I think, if you're 6'3", 275 pounds, you really don't want to be a big contact guy. You're not going to, like Mitch said, you want to utilize to what your strengths are, right? So everybody's approach is going to be kind of different. If you're a leadoff hitter, you might have to be that spark plug that gets on base. If you're a 3, 4, 5 hitter, your approach may need to be to drive the ball gap to gap, right? If you're the 9 hitter, just hoping to get something out of them. So I think depending on where you're at, defines your approach. Who's on base defines your approach. Who's pitching defines your approach. Right? The way the wind's howling 30 miles per hour from center field, it's going to change your approach. I think everything that baseball is going to affect your approach. But from a basic standpoint of this approach, like I kind of mentioned earlier, is we want to get up there to hunt a fastball. My best hitting advice I ever got was from a coach named Greg Burns. Shane, you know who he is. Greg, he was also at your wedding. He was at Shane's wedding too, Mitch. So anyway, played for the Marlins. Anyway, Greg, I went through a whole swing change with him for probably about 6 or 8 months, just completely redoing my entire swing. I get to one of the games, I take a fastball right down the middle, and then the umpire makes 2 bad calls and I strike out. I get back to the dugout, and the first thing he says to me is, I'm like, dude, those are horrible calls. And he was like, why are you being a little bitch? Why are you taking that? You took a first pitch fastball right down the middle. Like, what are you doing? And from then on, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll never take a fastball again. And in all honesty, just going up there and being ready to hit, I think is just a good approach for anybody that's going in. Like, why wait? If you get a fastball, let's go. Especially from like a younger kid's level, like, why not be ready on the fastball? Get in the box, be ready to go, get your timing on deck, and let's roll.
Mitch, what do you got?
I think with what Matt said, there's a lot of variables that are like all the situations in the game and the score and all that stuff. So it's just like, I think an approach is, what are you thinking or what are you trying to do to be the hardest out possible? Just whatever the scenario is, you're trying to be a tough out. So what thought process or focus is like, what are you choosing to think about to be a tough out? And it changes for everybody, where they're trying to hit the ball or what they're trying to do with the knob of the bat or their front foot or whatever it is. It's just, you can only think about really one thing up there, and whatever that thing is, that's your approach.
Okay. I like it.
Shane?
Oof. So to go back to a little, I'm going to base it off of your question first, Matt. I think the
What's
approach
my question?
itself. Well, your answer. You said it's by game, right? Your approach is by game, or was it?
No, my overall approach is hunt fastballs. Be on time and hunt fastballs. But what
Okay.
develops into your approach is what's happening every single day. My approach is not going to change on what I'm looking for, but depending on the situation I'm in, is different situations on what I'm trying to accomplish based on my approach.
I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think maybe you guys both would agree with me, but as I got older, I think my approach became more and more simple. It was less of situations when I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It turned into just like you're saying, Matt. I'm hunting a fastball today, or today, like my hands need to stay up the middle as long as they can, and I'm going to finish my swing, and that's all I'm thinking about today. And you're younger, it's 3,000 things. There's so many things that I was trying to think about when I got in the batter's box, and I think ultimately simplifying it helped me so much. So
I think that's
Simple
it.
is
I
better.
think that's the best part. Simplify, right? You
yeah,
can't think about, okay, in this at bat, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my foot down. I'm going to keep my hands back. I'm going to stay inside the ball. I'm not going to pull off with my hips. I'm going to keep my chest on the ball, and I'm going to get extension, right? You can
possible.
think about it's impossible, but that's what, especially like younger kids who hear parents like yelling from the stands and come on, do
Yeah, that's
this, or you're
brutal.
not doing
That's
this,
brutal.
right?
God, I
Like it
can't
really is.
stand it.
Like, how can you,
Mitch
I
goes to
couldn't even
games with
walk down
duct
the
tape.
street.
You know, Mitch carries duct tape when he goes to his games for all the parents.
For all the parents, you might have to.
It's just
I coached a 12U team once. That's it.
uh,
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's hitting as well as far as an approach goes. I think it's super important that because we're all in here that are doing lessons and we're also, I'm coaching high school ball, is seeing like if we had one kid that was going to Mitch for lessons, but he was on my baseball team, and then Coach Shane, you were also giving him hitting tips on the side. To have three different coaches giving a kid advice on his swing when all three of us, kind of like we talked about earlier, we all have like different interpretations for things, and we're all trying to teach very similar things, but how we say it, how we come across it might be way different. Like Mitch could be trying something completely different, Shane different than me, and we all are trying to kind of like push them. So now this kid has three different ideals in his head, and he's trying to do all of them. Right? He's trying to swing up, like maybe Coach Shane is trying to teach him, but Mitch thinks that he's trying to swing down or wants him, whatever it is. Like if you're gonna get a hitting coach or you're gonna be coached by somebody, find one guy that's gonna help you with your mechanics. Other guys can help you with your approach, but don't have so many people all the time trying to give you different mechanics. Like I know that the more people that try to give me like advice, I can't get through all of it. Like I just can't. But if you have one mentor, one guy that's helping you and teaching you, I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
No
What do you
doubt.
guys think about that? Like
No
Yeah.
doubt.
when you have all these people.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
I deal with it a little bit because I have some high school kids, some college kids, and like I always tell them, like the kids that are really bought in and like we're on the same page and everything, and things are working for them. Like I'll tell them, like if you're a high school coach or whoever, like if they try to, you know, push you a different direction or try to like say what you're doing is wrong, just tell them to call me. I'll be the scapegoat. I don't care. Like like is the high school coach going to bench me? It's just giving that player like a safety net. Like, okay, like I have this open line of communication with this guy that's helping me, but I'm also staying on the same page and like a good relationship with my high school coach. And it's just like, I'll take the bullet. Like it's not going to really hurt me at all. And you're obviously you want to try to be on the same page with the coach, and you don't want to be like bad to him in any way, but just making it easier on the player to understand, because you have some kids that are 16 or 17 years old and they do want to like please everybody. They want to listen to their coach. They want to listen to their trainer. So it's just kind of giving that kid the right mindset that like, hey, like that coach is seeing something, like he's not blind. So whatever he tells you, try to kind of translate it into the words or the lingo that you know about your swing, and just be your own coach instead of relying on somebody.
Shoot, you just said the magic words: be your own coach. I think
Yep.
if we can, as a coach or as a private lessons coach or whatever it is, if you can get a player to where they understand what they're trying to do and be their own coach, like they hit a ball or they feel this swing, they're like, oh my gosh, I know what I need to do to fix it. If you as a coach, like when you guys are giving your guys drills and they figure something out and they can self-assess, oh my gosh, like that's the greatest thing ever you could give as a coach, right? You give them the tools to be successful on their own. Shane, you teach him something at your lesson, and then he goes over to the high school and he hits well, or he hears something, you kind of take a little bit, but remember like how we can self-assess. Like man, what a tool to give them.
Earlier the better too. Make them aware
Yeah.
of of what they're doing.
Self-awareness.
I like it. Okay, let's move on to what do you think is a good time on wood bat versus aluminum bat, and when do we use either of them?
Go ahead. You don't know when?
I think that this question is more based off of practice, correct? Because I think we're preaching to more of a
For
younger
sure, practice.
Yeah. I think wood bat all the time in practice, if I could. But that's my opinion. What do you guys think?
It would cost a lot of money.
Yeah, again, that's why I don't do it.
These kids are going to be breaking bat. I know in high school, if I would have used a wood bat and BP every day, I would have had a stockpile of firewood, no doubt about it. And it's just going to possibly, it could do some good things. It makes them find the barrel, but it might make them like a little bit more timid in their swing. So I think it could be great for some kids in practice all the time. Like I have one kid that's, college guy's hoping to get drafted this year. So every time he comes to hit with me, it's only a wood bat because that's what he's trying to prepare for. But there's really good ways to practice with them too. I love the heavy bats. I've talked to Shane about that a bunch. I use that a lot. So I got nothing wrong with the wood bats. The metal bats are getting out of hand too. So I think wood's pretty good option.
They're so loud. They are so loud.
So loud and so expensive.
Matt, what do you got? Do you allow high school hitters to use wood bats?
I don't let my guys to use wood bats at all at practice. I think I don't care what they do on their own or if they're hitting on the cages on their own, but for me, I want them to practice with the bat that they're going to play with. So I would prefer them to stay with metal. And if they're going to get drafted or they're going to have those opportunities, sure, use a wood bat. I'm cool with that. But a lot of my guys, I'm just trying to get them to get to the next level, and I would prefer them to use the metal bat, practice with it, and use it in the game than to take a wood bat. Like if they're getting drafted or they have scouts coming over, use the wood bat. I'm all for trying to get out of there, but I'm metal bats only.
Yeah, I honestly I hate to admit it, but I think I regret a big part of me of using as much wood bat as I did in high school because, dude, I think I went some of a season with a wood bat, Matt.
Oh, for sure you did.
And
you broke a bat in the game, and your whole bat shattered into the on-deck circle for the other team.
Yeah.
But literally the whole barrel was gone. I don't know why.
So I think that I did well.
Help you get drafted?
I don't know. I see it both ways. I think
pro scouts at your games.
Yeah, a ton. But I think I might be one of the only.
Metal bat?
Yeah, because that's what everyone else is seeing. Dude, think about it. If you look at the last 15 years of high school baseball, have you ever seen a high school kid during season using wood bat?
No.
Never. Dude, and we're talking guys that have been drafted top 10 picks, top 30 picks.
You want to know something funny? I went to I threw in a home run derby when I was at Riverside Poly for one of the kids, and Bryce Terrain came to the home run derby because he was still in high school, and he used a wood bat for the home run derby and won the whole thing.
See, that's cool.
That's a good time to use one.
Yeah, see, that's cool. I wish I would have used metal. I think that would have.
I wish you would have used metal. You might have had some home runs.
A
little more pop, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's funny because too, when I held tryouts, we had about 55 or 60 kids come out the tryouts, and they're like, "What bat should I bring? Should I bring my wood bat or bring my aluminum?" And I always tell them, if you come out there with a wood bat and you don't have a single ball that leaves the infield, it's probably not going to look too good to make the team. These kids, they don't have much pop. They come and use wood, and they don't even make contact. I'm like, guys, do not bring wood. And I have a bunch of bats too that they can use it. So it's like, if they only have wood, I'll provide them with a bat. But kind of funny.
I like it. I got one more question for you guys.
Let it rip.
Ooh.
You're laughing. You can answer that question.
Spicy topic. No, I think this is one of the most controversial things for youth baseball players. Mitch, why don't you see a lot of this in what you do day to day? What do you think?
I've I've never suggested a style change to a hitter. So like if they come in there and it's toe down early or leg kick or toe, like whatever it is, I'd never make a style change suggestion. If we go through a bunch of timing drills and I get them on time and they feel that the leg kick is making it hard for them to be on time, then it's kind of, obvious that they need to make the change, and we would talk about it. But I've never just been like, hey, you shouldn't leg kick or you should leg kick. It's if they can do it and be on time, I don't care what they're doing, because there's a bunch of good hitters that do it all different ways. So if it's happened in the big leagues with success consistently at some point, then I don't think there's any reason that young kids that are just doing something naturally and matching that should be changed.
Do you think a leg kick is natural?
If the kid's 7 years old and he's never swung a bat before and he's leg kicking and swinging, then I would say so. Just let him roll with what feels natural, get him on time, and let it develop from there.
What's the purpose of a leg kick?
Just timing. I mean, everything happening before the pitch, people moving their hands around, waggling their bat, lifting the leg in the air. It's just all feel and timing and rhythm. And it's like Mike Trout has a leg kick. He's really good. And there's guys like Shohei Ohtani who had a huge leg kick in Japan, but he came here and he made the adjustment, toe down early, worked for him. So I think all the styles are fine if it works.
Yeah. Matt, what do you got?
No, I'm not saying nothing else. That was perfect. That's exactly. I couldn't agree more. I think they're if the kid has them and they're natural, I don't really ever try to see it unless I see them late all the time, and I'll try to make the adjustment of switching it up or widening out their base or whatnot. But yeah, Mitch is spot on right there. Had nothing else to add.
Why is it then you think when guys get into the big leagues or just as they get older, I'd say most of the guys that grew up with a leg kick tend to get away from it. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, you even saw with Jackson Holiday at the very end of the season this year. He went from that huge leg kick. He got picked first overall, and then he went to a toe tap. So even the guy that's that good, and he's also young, he's making that adjustment right away. So maybe he had a lot of swing and miss this year, so the timing obviously was an issue, or it was causing an issue in the swing, so it was just the right time to make the adjustment. I just think it's super just case to case. Some guys, when they get older and they go to something more simple, it might be because of a million different reasons. Maybe they're not moving as good as they used to, and they need this or that, or the pitching gets too good to repeat it. So I think it's just personal.
My senior year of college, I went toe tap to the world's largest leg kick to widening completely out and just like a Shohei Ohtani step. Like by the end of the year, I started getting so far behind, but I was generating a lot of power with the leg kick, but I was not able to constantly be on time as much as I needed to be. So by kind of ditching out the leg kick, it helped just to get on time more. But
yeah,
be natural. The looser you are, baseball is like you said, it's already hard and tight and stiff. Like whatever is your rhythm and your style, like go for it.
Yeah, I not to cut you off, Mitch, really fast. I think that for most of the hitters that I have, at least the young kids, if they ever come in with a leg kick, I give them 5 minutes why they can prove to me why they have a leg kick, and 99% of the time I kick it to the curb. And it's not because I don't trust the kids and I want them to be comfortable, right? But I don't think that kids at that level and at that age can be consistent. If guys in the big leagues can't be consistent with a leg kick, how the heck is a kid that's barely learning how to walk and run going to be consistent with a leg kick? And I just don't find it to be beneficial for the younger kids. I'd rather them learn their swing, be consistent, and then as they learn how to swing, then you can bring it slowly back. But it's so hard for me to have these kids come in with a leg kick because there's not one kid that I can go back and I can throw to them that 10 out of 10 balls or even 8 out of 10 balls they're going to hit correctly with the leg kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on time.
Fair.
That's fair statement. Did you mean to say that?
It definitely adds.
You're going to kick the leg kick to the curb?
Kick it to the curb.
Kick it to the curb.
You guys got anything else?
No, that's good.
I went to the NLCS yesterday for Dodgers Mets.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Cool.
See it.
Nice.
I saw Derek Jeter, David Ortiz, and Alex Rodriguez. They're all there. Fun fact for you.
That was a 1 o'clock game, yeah?
Yeah. Did you know
Dude.
that Alex Rodriguez has a higher net worth than David Ortiz and Derek Jeter put together.
Dang.
Kind of interesting. He's also a part owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves basketball for you, Coach Shane.
It's crazy, dude. Good for him.
Insane. Legends.
Brady's the owner now too.
Yeah, Raiders.
Huh?
Raiders.
Brady got accepted yesterday or today or whatever.
Oh, for the Timberwolves?
No.
For the Raiders.
Raiders.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
the Raiders.
And they just traded out the receiver right away.
Can he
Yep.
still do his can he still be doing his broadcasting stuff with now that he's an owner?
He's got to be able to.
I think he's just a minority owner.
Cool.
Cool.
Oh
That's a
man.
wrap.
Yeah. Let's do it. Matt, you got anything last words to say?
Nope. I said enough tonight.
See you guys.
Adios.